If things are this crazy in Ghana, in Africa in general, why? Why did you decide to stop what you're doing in the UK, go to Ghana and set up a law firm? And why is your law firm still running there if all of this wahala is happening, basically?
There is wahala, of course, of that there's no doubt. So a couple of things. It is no coincidence, I think, that perhaps people who are less blessed than I am, who happen to be non-Ghanaian, white, Syrian, Lebanese, tend to be very successful, even Chinese, very successful in Ghana, right? So in spite of the chaos, in spite of the issues I've alluded to, there is opportunity. So it's about perspective.
Explain that. That's what I want to know.
Yeah. And I have to say, for the most part, I don't take a great deal of joy in highlighting the ills of Ghana or places like Ghana, because I think it's a well-trodden path. A lot of people do that. It's easy to do. So this is an opportunity for me to demonstrate, at least try and show the other side of the coin. For all the ills that exist in Ghana, there are massive opportunities, right? For example, just the way I think, just the way my partners think, distinguishes us from most of our peers in law in Ghana, right? An example, if you and I had a dispute, okay? And let's imagine for this discussion, we represent two different people, so we're both lawyers, okay? And my case was stronger than yours, let's say for argument's sake. And I said to you, Hamid, why don't we sit down, discuss how we can resolve this issue rather than spend 4 or 5 years in court? Perhaps we don't know the outcome. It could be frustrating, but it's going to be a lot of money, and the only beneficiary is going to be you and I. So let's try and cut to the chase and resolve it. The predominant mindset in Ghana is, because I have reached out to you, in spite of the merits of my case, you will perceive that I'm weak and therefore my case is weak, and therefore you will try and bend me over.
I see.
Do you see?
Yeah, but how's that a good thing?
It's not a good. I'm coming to it. That's the prevalent, my view, prevalent perception amongst most of my brethren in Ghana, right?
Okay.
So because of that, we've taken a different approach. And so because we're able to provide a service with a different approach, a different perspective, we capitalize. Because don't forget, business people, wherever they are in the world,
They
have
don't want to
one
go
thing
to
in
court.
mind. Exactly. They don't want to go to court. Time is money. They don't want to waste their time, especially when we have a system that means an issue as simple as, do you owe me money or not, could last 5 years.
Whoa.
Do you see what I'm saying? And by the time you've got satisfaction, you're not even, it's a hollow victory because it's so far down the line, you may not even be dead. You may not even be alive, right? So there's no, justice is meant to be speedy. In our law books, it makes the point. Rule 1 says expedition. The case must be prosecuted expeditiously, and yet we do anything but. So anyway, I say all that to say this. Because of those issues, when we approach our clients, we do a number of things. We're able to immerse ourselves, if they're a company or if they're a business, in their business so that we can be preemptive rather than reactive. And I remember telling you that there is no glass ceiling in Ghana.
And in the UK.
In the UK, right? And so the prospects of me kind of scaling the heights is a lot higher in Ghana than perhaps it is here. I'm not saying it can't happen here. Of course it can. But I think balance of probabilities is probably more likely in Ghana than it is here. Whereas here, the system works. It's very organized, and you definitely can tick over, sustain yourself, maybe even have an above average lifestyle. But to have a life-changing transformation, it probably is going to be in Ghana. So for all the risks, for all the ills, the fact that there's no safety net, we feel it's a great opportunity to embark on. And lastly, the other thing that gives us an advantage is there are people, I'm sure you know this as well, in Ghana who have issues in the UK and vice versa. And so if we can become the bridge to provide them with that access point, for example, someone dies, they need a estate. In fact, I've got a case right now where a father has died in Ghana, had some assets here. They can't get here. They need someone to explore what it is, how it is, so that they can repatriate the money back to them in the UK. And of course, they say that when you can provide a solution to a problem, you're onto something.
Yeah.
So we identify the problems and we turn it around to see how we can provide solutions.
I'm interested in one thing. You said with the perspective of Ghanaian lawyers, they just see it as, if you're coming to me that you want to come to the table and you want to negotiate, that means you're weak. So I'm going to try to bend you over. How do you capitalize that and use that to your advantage? That's what I don't understand. How, Because if you go to your clients and you say, we are not trying to waste your time in court, we are expeditious, we will make your cases go very quickly, we'll save you money, we'll save you time. But then every time you interact with another Ghanaian lawyer, they're like, oh, you're coming to me, I'm going to try to bend you over. Do you just allow them to do it?
Absolutely
How do
not.
you still speed it up whilst winning the case?
I've been a firm believer in the following philosophy.
Mm.
There are no such thing as mistakes, it's just experiences from which we learn. The question is, are we learning? And with
Mm.
those experiences, hopefully, as you're learning, you're developing and therefore you're becoming a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday.
Yeah, agreed.
The first time and let me be straight, I'm not saying this is true of all Ghanaian lawyers, because I've not dealt with all Ghanaian lawyers. Some of whom I've dealt with and some of the feedback I've got reflects this philosophy, right?
Yeah.
So my experience of that was, it was a rude awakening the first time it happened. May I give you an example?
Yeah, sure. I like examples.
Very good. We had a client who hailed from the States. It may have been Maryland or the tri-state, the tri-state, right? DC, Maryland, or Virginia, right?
Mm.
And she came to Ghana because her husband had left part of the plan, gone to Ghana, intending to set up, and then when the dust had settled, she was going to join him. 2.5 years later, he's still in Ghana. She doesn't hear from him.
At all.
At all. She now discovers
What, her
he's got
husband? She doesn't hear from her husband at all. Like he goes cold turkey, silent.
he radio silent, right?
Okay.
She then discovers he secured a job with a bank as a risk manager.
Mm-hmm.
He's opened an account in her name. He's taken out a few loans in her name with Wells Fargo in America. So she's only
What?
becoming aware of it because now they're sending her demand letters, right? He bought a car in her name, which he exported to Ghana. Okay. So she's coming to us. She wants a divorce, recoup as much of the money as she can, and basically take him to task. Now, as far as we were concerned, this was a foregone conclusion. It was like you either did it or you didn't. There's no in
Yeah.
between. Agree?
Yeah.
And we've got documentation that demonstrates
That you did it.
right. So we reach out, to the guy, and he throws it back in our face. We said, fine, please put us in contact with your lawyer. And the lawyer, when we say to the lawyer, we don't take any pride in taking your client to task, right? Our client wants this, make it whole, we can finish it, the end of it, he can continue working. Remember, he's working in the bank as a director of, either the director of risks or the risk manager, one of the two, right? The lawyer throws it back in our face because he feels we are weak and therefore wants to bend us over. Okay? So now we turn up the heat.
But you have the evidence and everything.
I can't give you the why. I can only tell you what transpired. You can
Yeah.
make of it what you will.
Okay,
Maybe
cool.
I appreciate I'm not as smart as I sound or look. I know I'm a 3-year-old, so maybe it was evident to them. So, but here's what we did.
All
As an
right.
example of how we turned it around, here's what we did. We made sure he got sacked from the bank. We sued the bank.
Oh.
Yes, for not having oversight, because the guy had committed some element of fraud. And he's your head of risk and he's a fraudster. Hello?
In this,
You see
yeah.
that? Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we sued the bank, and also he'd opened an account in her name without her authority. In fact, the bank is no longer in existence today, but we sued the bank. We were able to get the money, most of the money back. We were also able to absolve her from any repayments because we redirected Wells Fargo to him. Now, and that's an example. I'm just giving you the short version. That's an example of how once we raised up the ante, his lawyer was overwhelmed, right? There's something about zealous advocacy, right?
What did you say?
Zealous advocacy. So you're very
Okay.
robust in your approach. But
Yeah.
we always work on the basis that our initial approach is conciliatory. Let's sit down and resolve it. And sometimes they confuse that approach for weakness. Or I will say this, I've come across many of my peers who don't read their briefs. The main objective is to go into court and seek an adjournment. So that shortcut mentality seems to be prevalent in my view. And so it gives us an opportunity to kind of capitalize on that, if I can put it that way. One example, very good one.
Okay.
You imagine you borrow money from a bank
Yeah.
to build your development or to do a development, right? The bank is taking you through hoops to give you that money that you are going to pay for. And
Yeah.
you've indicated in the agreement that the payment will come from the proceeds of your development. You need the money as a matter of urgency to complete the project. Let's say we're in December now. Let's say the project must be completed by March. Okay. You have an agreement with an off-taker who's going to buy that project upon completion in March, but it must be completed in March. That's why you ask for the loan. They grant you the loan. You don't get the money until 7 months later. Meanwhile, you're still paying the interest on the loan.
What?
Thank you. You can't make it up. And then the bank had the cheek for when he's unable to pay to foreclose on his home, which was given as collateral for the loan.
But they didn't even give the money yet.
Now you're with me. So we sued the bank and won successfully. As we speak, they've appealed. They lost the trial 5 years later. They've lost the appeal. It's now going to the Supreme Court.
And they want to appeal that too.
They want to appeal that too. And of course, the longer it goes on, the more the interest keeps rolling over. But that's just an example of how some might call it absurd. Some might call it, maybe it's just desserts. I don't know. But I hope I've given you enough flavor to think about. It's a headache.
You really have.